What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at my top linemen offensively for the 2021 NFL Draft. We're going to go through guards, tackles, and centers. It's not a sexy video, but it has to get done to stick my neck on the line. Plus, usually, if you look at my last couple years, like my track record for linemen has been pretty good. So hopefully we find a couple gems here, especially if you're a team that is in need of improving the offensive line. I'd also like to thank everybody that tuned last night into our YouTube 32-team 7-round mock draft live stream. Went over 4 hours. It was fun. I had a good time. And it kind of got the dust off, the cobwebs off of the old YouTube streams, getting us ready for our live 2021 NFL Draft first round live stream where I'm going to get my reactions and all that stuff. It's going to be pretty damn fun. Tomorrow, make sure you stay tuned to your sub boxes as there will be a brand new Madden series, which I think you guys are really going to enjoy. But without further ado, let's get into the least sexy video I probably have uploaded in months, my offensive line rankings for the 2021 NFL Draft. We'll start with centers, move to guards, then to tackles. We're just doing top 5 for centers. We'll do top 10 for every other position. And at number 5, I will also like to say honorable mention Jimmy Morrissey from Pitt. Nice center. We're going Drew Dahlman, 6'3", 300 pounds as center 5. Had an absolute huge pro day, which also doubles into his other positive of zone blocking, a 9.9 RAS. This is a guy that you want to get out moving in space. He posted elite grades in speed, agility, and explosion. Also 33 reps on the bench press, which is good for a center whose biggest knock is probably going to be size concerns. Barely 300 pounds. Probably not going to be great if you're going to be in a power scheme. He's going to be scheme dependent on where his value is going to be. But for me, I'm going to give him a 5th round grade. And in pro comparison, definitely if you're a Detroit Lion fan, this name should sound familiar. Dominic Raiola. But I more so made that comp from an athletic standpoint, very similar type centers. Center 4, I'm going to look at Josh Meyers from Ohio State, 6'5", 310. So unlike Dahlman, very much ticks off all the boxes that you want to look for in a NFL caliber center from a size standpoint. Football IQ is very high, a finisher on every one of his pass reps. Negatives would be speed rushers, probably not the most agile, and at times can overextend himself, be over-aggressive in the run game. Draft grade, I'm going to give him a 4th, 3rd rounder. My pro comparison, maybe not so much from an athletic standpoint because Hennessy was a great athlete, but from a stylistic standpoint, technical standpoint, I really like that comp. Matt Hennessy, now going to be a starter for the Atlanta Falcons. And I do think when you draft Josh Meyers, you most likely will have a guy that could play sooner than later as a rookie. At center 3, if you're looking for an athletic center, this is a terrific year to get one. And then we're going to look at Quinn Miner, 6'3", 320 pounds, Wisconsin Whitewater. Had a huge Senior Bowl and a pro day, 9.98 in the RAS. With 33 on the bench. His vertical, his broad were elite. S tier for a center. His 40, 499. The splits were also elite. This guy's an absolute beast. His run blocking is off the charts. Negatives is always going to be for a smaller school player, the level of competition. And scouts were knocking his zone blocking. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I watched 4 hours of Wisconsin Whitewater tape, but it almost seems like every single person that broke him down was knocking his zone blocking, which is surprising when you have a guy of this athletic profile. It's probably more so the technical side of the zone blocking, the IQ side of the zone blocking that he's just not quite accustomed to. But with his athletic profile, absolutely should be able to develop into a nice zone blocking center. Draft grade for him, 2nd, 3rd round. And I'm going to give him the pro comparison of Garrett Bradbury, who also dominated the combine a couple years ago and was eventually a 1st round pick of the Minnesota Vikings. Center 2 is Landon Dickerson, 6'6", 325 pounds, formerly of Florida State. Finished his career with Alabama. Versatilities, play every spot on the offensive line. That's where his real value comes. He can be a tackle, he can be a guard, he can be a center. His versatility is insane. He has incredibly powerful hands. Once he gets locked in on whatever defensive player it is, be it someone on the line of scrimmage or getting to the 2nd level, it's pretty much game over. There's some medical concerns. Didn't get to participate in a lot of the offseason drills, offseason programs, offseason games, offseason showcases. So you're going to need to check that. In reality, not an S-tier athlete, especially when you're comparing him to Drew Dahlman and Quinn Miner and the guy we're going to talk about at center 1. That's kind of what separates him. But from a technical and versatility standpoint, he's probably the most versatile lineman in this year's draft. I'm giving him a 2nd round draft grade. If you watch that mock draft, 7-round 32 teams that we did the other night, we actually had him going in the 1st round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I wouldn't be shocked, and I'm going to give him a pro comparison of Dalton Risner, formerly of Kansas State, now a Denver Bronco. And center number 1, absolute no doubts about this. It's Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma, 6'4", 315, put up a perfect 10 on the rest. I've never seen that. There's 2 players, him and Spencer Brown, who we'll talk about when we get to the tackles. But Spencer Brown, small school player, a little bit more of a project. Creed Humphrey was like most likely the best center, and then he absolutely dominated his pro day and was able to put up a perfect 10. So you're getting an S-tier athlete at the center spot. A mauler, his technique is great. Has that, I think, I'm pretty sure, like a wrestler background. Negatives would be limited ceiling. Potentially, he's as good as he's ever going to be, which is still absolutely a starting caliber center, but you always don't really want that finished product in the first, second round. You want those guys to be good, and you can develop them to be great. I would have concerns potentially that if he's, he might be at his ceiling. And zone blocking's not a strength. Again, kind of like Miner, this is just a knock, a common knock. Maybe from a schematic standpoint, from where they played, they're just not experienced in those schemes. But with his athletic profile, I absolutely think you can develop him into a zone blocking center. I'm giving him a second round grade. Would not be shocked whatsoever if he snuck into the first round. My pro comparison, I actually really like this. That is Shaq Mason. Shaq Mason started as a center, eventually became a guard for Bill Belichick in there in New England. Maybe the same could happen for Creed Humphrey, even though I think he still best projects as a starting center in the NFL. So for our guards, I'm just going to start at guard 6. Like, these are the guards that I really, kind of want to pound the table for. Guards 7 through 10, I don't really have any preference in this video. It's going to get pretty long if I do 10. So we're just going to start at 6 and go all the way up to number 1 for our offensive guards. And we're going to start with Ben Cleveland from Georgia. 6'6", 355 pounds. If there was one of these guys, that if I was like the WWE or AEW or like one of those wrestling people, I would absolutely be like, hey man, if you slip to the later rounds in the NFL, maybe you want to come try it out in wrestling, because this guy is gigantic and built like a goddamn Viking. Freak strength. Even though he only put up 30 reps on the bench press at his pro day, a lot of people thought he would put up 40, 45, 50, somewhere in that range. Still, it shows up and take like this guy here. Once he gets his hands on you, it's pretty much game over. A mauler in the run game. The negatives would be agility. He ran just at 4.88 in the shuttle. I mean, when you're that big, you're not going to be too agile. It's just how life works. And his zone blocking is not over. You want him probably more so in a power blocking scheme. Ultimately, I'm going to give him a 4th and or 3rd round draft grade, and my pro comparison for him is DJ Fluker. Would it be interesting with Cleveland, though, if some team would want to try him out at tackle as opposed to keeping him at guard? Kind of similar to maybe Braden Smith for the Colts. To guard number 5, we're going to look at Deonte Brown from Alabama. 6'3", 365 pounds. Much like Cleveland, you're getting a guy that has elite power, always going to be a plus as a run blocker. But the negatives, with that size, speed rushers. If he doesn't get his hand on you and you are a speed rusher, probably not going to have the athleticism, unfortunately, to be able to reset and get a second chance at it. In zone blocking, you're not really going to want this guy moving in space too much. They tried doing that in the Senior Bowl. He did not have a particularly good Senior Bowl game. I think they were just misusing him a little bit. But ultimately, good guard, good power guard for the right scheme. I'm going to give him a 4th, 3rd round grade. And my pro comparison for him is Damian Lewis, formerly of LSU, now a member of the Seattle Seahawks. Guard number 4, I originally, when I started all my rankings, had him as my 2nd highest rated guard. But the medicals are very, very important for Trey Smith. Had some serious issues hop up at Tennessee. And that 2nd round of medicals when you come to the NFL is going to be very important as to where he gets drafted. It could kind of be similar like maybe Mo Hurst. Mo Hurst was maybe a 1st round, 2nd round pick. Slipped way into day 3 because of the conditions. Could be the same with Trey Smith. I just don't know. And I couldn't put him much higher in case there are some concerns. But he is outstanding. 9.91 in the RAS, posing elite agility, elite speed, powerful size. That's the best thing about his game. Powerhouse, man. Absolute powerhouse. His run blocking is good. Agility is not so great. Technique could get better. And the medicals are always something you need to be concerned about. But ultimately, I'm going to give him a 3rd round grade. And my pro comparison for him is, I really actually do like this one, Will Hernandez of the Giants. Just guys you love to have on your team. Absolute brick shit houses. Maulers. Hard-nosed, old-school style blockers. And with Trey Smith, get a little bit added benefit. Has experience playing at tackle. Offensive guard 3 is going to be Jackson Carman from Clemson. 6'5", 345 pounds. Get some versatility. Some teams may project him as a tackle, so you could get a 2 for if you draft him as a guard. You could find out that maybe he's better suited as a tackle, and tackles obviously have a little bit higher value than a guard. Run blocking is a plus, absolute mauler with that size. Negative, again, when you talk about these dudes that are 330 plus, speed rushers will always kind of give them trouble a little bit. And for whatever reason, a lot of scouts are knocking him for his worth ethic concerns. I've actually seen a bunch of people at Clemson as well on Reddit and stuff saying like this guy here pretty much checked out. And I can't confirm or deny, did not watch enough Clemson's games this year to pinpoint like, oh, he's not giving enough effort. Didn't look too bad, but when there's smoke, there's fire when something like this does come up. So it was worth mentioning. But ultimately, I'm going to give him a 3rd round draft grade. And my pro comparison from him is Max Sharping of the Houston Texans, who I actually am higher on than most. And I really did like him coming out of Northern Illinois. Guard number 2 is going to be Wyatt Davis from Ohio State. 6'4", 310 pounds. You're getting a guy that is not, elite power in the sense that he's just a gigantic human being like Ben Cleveland or like Deonte Brown. You're getting a guy that's, more chiseled down and still an absolute powerhouse. Incredibly strong hands. He eats alive power rushers. If you try to outpower this guy, good luck. It's game over. It's more so going to be the finesse players that he's not prolific against. Second level blocking, he's more of a line of scrimmage type player. And sometimes he can be over aggressive, overstep his blocks, not necessarily maintain the integrity there. But that's definitely stuff that can get fine tuned. And I do think he is one of, if I was in the market for a guard, I absolutely would have Wyatt Davis very high on my draft board. I'm giving it a second round grade. And my pro comparison from him is Tre Turner out of LSU. I have no idea where he is right now. Is he still a free agent? He was with obviously the Panthers, and then he went to the Chargers. But either way, man, Tre Turner, I like that comp. And our guard 1 could very well rank as a tackle on a lot of people's boards. That's also why I kind of have him at guard 1, because the versatility. He brings that tackle versatility that he absolutely could be a starting tackle, could be a starting guard. Kind of similar to maybe Jonah Williams when he was coming out of Alabama. Everyone thought he's going to be a starter somewhere in the offensive line, just not exactly sure where I can pinpoint his best position. His leverage, he wins with leverage. Scouts brought this up when I watched a couple chop ups at USC. Absolutely wins with leverage. And that's kind of weird because he's not, super long. And from that, and he's not also stout. He's kind of that middle range. You know what I'm saying? From a length standpoint, his footwork's also very good when it's good. It's also not very good sometimes. It's just day and night, a little bit bipolar, something that he needs to get more consistent with. Strength's always going to be concerned too when you're hovering around that 300 mark. Even though the physical strength, 36 reps in the bench press at his pro day does help. Play strength and physical strength doesn't always line up. Look, Ben Cleveland only put up 30 reps in the bench press, but his play strength is outstanding. So that's something that we know the power is there. You just got to know how to fine tune it and use it more consistently with Vera Tucker. But that was very impressive to put up 36 reps at that bench press, knowing that strength was kind of a question mark for him entering this offseason process. But ultimately for me, I'm going to give him a second first-round grade. And my pro comparison, I'm actually going to compare him to a tackle, and that is La'el Collins of the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to finish this video off with my top 10 tackles, because I think there are 10 legitimate tackles that have very promising futures ahead of themselves in the NFL. And we're going to start with Mr. Perfect 10 Raz, Spencer Brown from Northern Iowa, 6'8", 315 pounds. Obviously, you're going to be getting elite length, S-tier athlete. I wanted to give him a pro comp of Colton Miller, just maybe a little too rich, but Havenstein, Colton Miller from a play style, Havenstein from a athletic profile, very much Colton Miller. Negatives, bend at that length, not going to really possess, elite bend, being able to handle some of those speed rushers that can dip really, really low at the edge. And there's always going to be level of competition concerns, but still, fourth, third round, Havenstein, Colton Miller, a lot of teams are going to jump over them. He could even sneak into the second if people want to really gamble on that athletic profile. On a tackle, number 9 is going to be Alex Leatherwood from Alabama, 6'5", 310 pounds. Positives for Leatherwood, length in his hands, very, very good length. For a guy that's 6'5", uses his arms very well. Hands similarly, much like Landon Dickerson, once he gets his hands on you, it's kind of game over. And versatility, could be a guard, could be a tackle, which kind of spins into that first negative where you don't want to be drafting this guy as a tackle to then later find out he could be better suited as a guard because you're going to be paying the premium price of drafting a tackle over a guard. I will say, and I left this in before he had his pro day, lacks explosiveness on tape. There were some times where, I don't know, maybe it was more so an effort issue and the lack of athletic ability because his RAS score, 9.68, and scored elite in the explosion grades with a 34.5-inch vertical, 9-foot broad jump, which is outstanding for the tackle position and or guard. Just wasn't showing up on tape, so I felt like it was worth leaving it in there, not just editing it out, because, more so these little boxes is based off of what I've been seeing. And I also didn't think he was overly impressive as a guard. Seemed to struggle a little bit when he moved to Alabama as a guard. All the scouts were hoping that he would return, which he did in 2020, and move back out to tackle. But either way, there is some versatility there, and you have a great athletic profile to work with. I'm giving him a third-round grade. Wouldn't be shocked if he goes second round. I think in our mock draft that we did on YouTube last night, did he sneak in the first round? I think he might have been a high second-round pick. Absolutely could go in that range. For my pro comparison too, as well, not really a third round, it's Braden Smith, who's a really good starter for the Indianapolis Colts. And like Alex Leatherwood, has that hole. Does he play guard? Does he play tackle? And either way, it's a solid football player that you like having on your team for a versatility standpoint on that O-line. On to tackle number 8, we're going Liam Eckenberg, 6'5", 300 pounds, out of Notre Dame. Technically very sound, very ready to go for the NFL, pro-ready type tackle. And his run blocking is very good, which is no surprise because you pretty much have to be a plus run blocker to consistently play at Notre Dame. Negatives, could be a little bit more consistent with his play. Was a guy that has fluctuated in terms of draft position over the last year and a half, and that is ultimately down to consistency because he look good in some games. He look like a bona fide franchise tackle. In other games, it's like, well, could be swing tackle territory, somewhere in that range. And also at 300 pounds, not the biggest guy, so you worry about the power, more so in play strength. He did put up 33 reps at his bench press, but it's the play strength, completely different things. You'd like to see a little bit more consistency there. Transfer that bench strength into play strength, and that's going to be a huge bonus for Eckenberg going forward in the NFL for his career. Draft grade, I'm giving me a 3rd, 2nd round, and I'm going to give him the pro comparison of Jake Matthews of the Atlanta Falcons. Tackle number 7 is going to be Jalen Mayfield from Michigan, 6'5", 326 pounds, which he measured in at his pro day. And that'll be the last time we reference his pro day in a positive standpoint because everything else was very poor. Finished with a 4.89 RAS, which is not what you want to see. But he's much more of a better football player than athlete, which is perfectly fine on the offensive line. He has great, because who's really going to be like, man, that guy's taste really good, but that lineman ran a better 40? Probably, I don't think that's ever been ushered ever for an offensive lineman. He has great footwork. His run blocking is a plus. Negatives could be length, which also burns into the other one, where he might be better suited as a guard, especially with the athletic profile. Potentially, you're just going to be saying, it's going to be a little bit easier, someone that's a lesser athlete, to play on the inside than they are on the outside. But either way, tackle or guard, he is a very good football player, and that's where I'm going with the pro comp. Joel Bitonio was drafted as a tackle, shifted into guard, and has been very good for the Cleveland Browns, and I think he'll go in that 3rd, 2nd round territory. Tackle number 6 is going to be Christian Daris, 6'5", 315 pounds, out of Virginia Tech. Pass pro is absolutely a plus and brings a lot of experience, a lot of snaps played for Virginia Tech. Negatives, a lot of scouts write about his inconsistent footwork, and when you do watch some of the chop-ups, it does stand out on tape a little bit, but that can get coached up. And strength, generally not more so a powerhouse. I would like to think he's more of a finesse tackle than he is a guy that wins with his power consistently, but still a really solid tackle prospect. But I just kind of look at him, he's really good, but not amazing. I do get some potentially Andre Dillard vibes, but at least Dillard was an A-tier athlete. But for Daris, I'm giving my 2nd first-round grade in pro comparison is Dwayne Brown, who's had a hell of a career for the Houston Texans and finishing up now with the Seattle Seahawks. Tackle number 5 is Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State, listed at 6'7". Pretty sure at his pro day he was closer to 6'6", but 320 pounds, legit 320. Positive, violent finisher, versatility, guard and or tackle. Would be potentially higher. Posted a great pro day of a 9.7 RAS. 36 reps on the bench press was outstanding. His vertical was elite. His 40-yard dash time, his straight line speed was elite for, a guy that can get to the 2nd level. But the negative's not the longest guy. Length pops up on a lot of the scouting reports, and he could potentially shift into the guard spot. And then again, it comes to the whole thing he's a good football player, going to be a starting offensive lineman, but the price that you're going to be paying, would you pay that if this guy was clearly going to be a guard versus a tackle, which is more valuable? And it's a common question that comes up with some of these players. But ultimately, still going to get a 1st-round grade for me. My pro comparison is a tackle that was highly regarded as a tackle. Great athlete as a tackle. I think he had almost a 9 RAS and ended up shifting to guard. And he's got paid a lot of money to play guard for the New Orleans Saints, and that is Andrus Peat. At tackle number 4, we're just going to keep churning out the very athletic offensive lineman, and that's Dillon Redis from North Dakota State, 6'6", 305 pounds, who put up a 9.2 RAS score at his pro day. Elite explosion, elite agility, with pretty good straight line speed for the 10-yard split, 176, which is almost a 9, which is good because it's scored out of a 10. But ultimately, I'm putting him here because he was the winner. Out of all the players, excluding Kellen Mond from the Senior Bowl, Redis was an absolute beast. His run blocking is a plus from North Dakota State. The negatives, level of competition, probably not going to be an absolute powerhouse. Only 24 reps on the bench press, and it did not stand out on tape. But this is absolutely a guy that is going to be an outstanding offensive lineman, and I could 100% see him sneak into the 1st round, which is why I'm giving him a 2nd first-round grade. My pro comparison from him is one of the better pure right tackles, run-blocking right tackles in the NFL, and that's Jack Conklin. Talked about Spencer Brown at number 10, getting that perfect 10 RAS. Well, a 9.99 for my tackle 3, Sam Cosmi from Texas, 6'7", 300 pounds. Run blocking, very apparent. Athleticism with that 9.9 RAS, 36 reps on the bench press. Had elite broad jump, elite speed, elite agility. He's probably the guy, like the biggest differential from my rankings or from rankings around. I have Cosmi. A lot of people, some people have him as like tackle 5, 6, 7. I would absolutely wouldn't hesitate drafting him in the first round. And I'm giving him the Colt Miller comp, which is pretty much what you get when you're a long athletic tackle. But Colt Miller really has turned it on last 2 years for the Raiders and is looking like a bona fide franchise tackle for them. The gamble has paid off for John Gruden and the Raiders, and unfortunately you can't say that about a lot of their picks so far. But when you look at Cosmi, a lot of people like to knock that he does play tall, which is, you know, it kind of is something that you would rather not see, but it's almost nature of the beast when you are that tall, that you play tall, and you're not going to be able to get down as low on some of the speed rushers. Play strength. Has the physical strength, play strength, a little bit inconsistent, but when you see the 36 reps on the bench press, you know that power is in there, and all it's going to take is for a great offensive line coach to be able to hone that physical strength into play strength, and then good night, Cosmi could end up being, I don't want to say the best tackle because I love Sewell, but he could end up being the second best tackle from this draft class. The athletic freaks just keep on churning themselves out. At number 2, we're going Rashaan Slate from Northwestern, 6'4", 310 pounds. We're going to talk about the athleticism, 9'7" in the RAS. Only thing that he's not elite at is his size at 6'4", just over 300 pounds. His bench was good. Explosion grade, speed grade, agility grade, all exactly what you want to see in a first-round tackle prospect. His hands are very good as well. That good as would be length and guard. That's pretty much the whole polarizing thing with Rashaan Slate. Is he going to be, you know, kind of like Tristan Wirfs, where Wirfs isn't the biggest of tackles, but was outstanding as a tackle because there's just, you know what, there's a certain point where if you're like on that bubble of length, your athleticism and the athleticism that Slater possesses could and maybe be the trump card for a lack of length. Well, the whole thing is he's either going to be a good tackle or a good guard, but what is the price you want to pay on a good guard if that is what he is in your scheme? I'm giving him a first-round draft grade. I'm going to give him a pro comp. Doesn't sound like a great pro comp, but Deion Dawkins was one of the better linemen in the NFL last year, like from PFF and stuff, for how much weight you want to put into those PFF scores. Pretty sure he was like top 10. He was outstanding and also had that whole, like, is he going to be a guard? Is he going to be a tackle? Worked out well at tackle for the Buffalo Bills. And I ultimately do think Slater will be played at tackle and should be probably a top 15 pick in the upcoming draft. Tackle number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going Penei Sewell from Oregon. 6'6", 330 pounds, plus athleticism. Not an elite athlete, but plus athleticism. 30 reps on the bench press. He had pretty good explosion. Not, you know, he's not going to be S tier. He put up just a 9 RAS, which is almost any other year outstanding, but the fact that you have Spencer Brown and Cosmi and all these guys that are getting 9.4s, 9.5s, upwards to a perfect 10, it kind of goes against it, but absolute dominates literally 95% of the time. I just threw that number in because I don't really recall watching a bad rep. Also, for the athleticism, he ran like he was a receiver. They would have designed plays for him to kind of be like, think of like J.J. Watt, how the Texans would use him. Obviously, you weren't lining up at tight end all the time, but it's there, man. Freaky athleticism. The negative, I only have one, is his technique needs to be a little bit more consistent. You could see a player that dominates at the college level because he's just that much better from a power standpoint than everybody. And the NFL might not be able to get away with that as much. So from a technical standpoint, could be refined up there. But ultimately for me, he's a top 5 pick. And it's my favorite pro comparison out of any player in this draft. He is Jason Peters. And where do you draft Jason Peters? If he was re-entering, you told him he's regen. Oh, it's like FIFA and he retired and they're going to put back in that regen of Jason Peters. It's Sewell, and you're absolutely drafting them in the top 5. Don't be dumb, Cincinnati. Please don't be dumb. Just protect Joe Burrow. That's all you need to do is just protect Joe Burrow. It doesn't matter if you have Jamar Chase if he's not staying healthy, if he can't stay upright. Sewell is the guy, I think, if you're Cincy and you get Peters 2.0. But there you go, guys. Those are my offensive line rankings. Wasn't pretty, wasn't sexy, but we got through it. It's a great year, I think, to need tackles in particular and top-tier athletic centers. If you're looking in the market for those, your zone blocking team for centers, it's going to be a pretty happy time for you. But what do you guys think about rankings? Let me know in the comment section below. We still have a couple more videos left. I'm going to do D linemen, which will be D tackles and 3-4 defensive ends. We'll do edge rushers. We're going to do linebackers, corners, and safety. So we have 5 more videos to go. Not always going to be the sole upload. You know, now that we're getting through it, some days there'll be 2 different types of videos. But because right now I'm working behind the scenes on the new Madden series, it just kind of plays out this way that you're getting their rankings. So we will be back. We're still got 5 more of these to go. But let me know in the comment section below how you feel about these rankings. As always, if you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon where we have all the draft rankings are posted every day. I'm posting 1, 2, or 3 mock drafts, 7-round mock drafts for every team in the NFL. And we're getting ready to start posting my 2022 draft rankings, getting guys that you should probably definitely pay attention to in the upcoming college football season. So a lot of good stuff going on there. Check that out if you want to support the channel, and I'll see you guys back here on the next one tomorrow for the new Madden series. Thanks for watching, and peace out.